amount of inclusion and integration that we're doing now that will improve. But for my generation, it's still a difficult thing. Okay? Next. And these are all these things that we talked about. I would just like to comment on the last one. Just because we're in wheelchairs and scooters doesn't mean we're deaf. And a lot of people don't get that message. So talking a regular tone voice. Doing it, yeah.
I have a question about that. Because I think we all make mistakes too about people that are deaf or hard of hearing. You know, like sometimes I just catch myself, maybe like if I'm talking to someone that uses sign language, I'll notice I'm enunciating my words a little bit more, and I never know if that's right or wrong. You know, if would the person tell me right away?
Honestly, I lip read, and most of you know I'm hard of hearing, or if you don't know, well, I'm hard of hearing. I don't wear my hearing aids because it makes everything way too loud. My hearing's not that bad. But when you do try to over-enunciate, you're not producing your normal speech pattern, which makes it harder for me to lip read. So that's more challenging, but fun. And the other thing, I have to agree with him, talking a normal tone of voice, just shouting at me or talking higher isn't going to make it better. You might need to repeat certain sounds, like I have a hard time with SHs. Certain words don't come out correct, or I don't hear it right. I'm sorry, what did you say? That's not permission to start screaming at me, but just try saying it a different way. If I ask you to repeat something multiple times, like use different words, that might work too, so.
Again, I think this is an opportunity to learn, as a teacher, I'm sure you're well aware of the I lost it, but where the teacher's skill, like in special ed, we often teachers skill where that skill most likely is going to be used, and you know, we're constantly learning, and if you can look at it like that, I think you'll do okay. Anything else? Okay. Jesus said, and sometimes some things don't have to be said. If we can only follow the simplest rules, I think this would be a much better society. Okay? I'm looking at the clock. This reading I have is about 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Is it okay if I do that? I wrote this in the early 90s, and it's on acceptance, and I was thinking back in my middle school years, and about my family and my grandfather and that, and I call it the old road, and I hope that you like it.
The Old Road by Thom Bodenbach. When times get tough, I find myself thinking of the old road. My mind's eye can get me there faster than anything that the writers of Star Trek could have thought of. The old road was the dirt road that bisected my grandparents' farm. Now that road bisects the memories of my mind, allowing me to freely and swiftly travel through time. Alongside that road was a huge oak tree. The roots of that tree ran deep into the dusty soil of that farm. It was there where I felt free to speak with and yell at my higher power. There were countless conversations with the higher power in the shade cast by that oak tree alongside of that old road. Hey God, it's Tom. You know Tom from Wisconsin? I know we're in Illinois. Man, it isn't hot down here. Got any air up there? How about cool air? I took a shower this morning, didn't help much. I ended up sweating more when I got out than when I got in. You're not playing fair. Speaking of playing fair, Grandpa called me a Dutchman again today. Why, oh why does he do that? Why can't he just ask me to slow down and repeat myself? Instead he calls me the Dutchman. I know that I should slow down so he can understand me, but God, I have so much to say. It is hard to slow down. I'll try better next time. I know I'll call him an old fogey, and it'll be true. It was late afternoon, and the cattle were coming up from the pasture to be fed and bedded down for the night. One of the old cows would stop to look me over. What are you looking at, cow? You understand me, don't you? Go on up by the barn, and I'll meet you there. Bye for now, God. Gotta get back to work. Talk to you later. Remember, we need cool air. My grandparents and I would make the 15-mile trip into town at least twice a week. Because of my disability, the townies would make fun of me. When we returned to the safe solitude of the farm, I would bring it up to the higher power by the old road under that oak tree. Hey, God. Yep, you guessed it. The townies were active again today. They laughed at the way I walk and talk. And that's not the worst of it. The adults, they stand around and they don't do nothing. Now I ask you, is that fair? At about that time, the leaves of that oak tree would rustle in the breeze. A feeling of tranquility would overtake me, and I knew that all would be well in time. I was once again filled with serenity, safe under that oak tree by the old road.
Comment?
Beautiful.
Questions? Name?
I enjoyed hearing that, and especially the part about the adults not saying anything. At a school that I used to teach at, we did have quite a few students that were different, and students would try to make fun of them. And I reminded those students, or told them if they had never heard it before, that there is only one incident in life that could separate you from being where someone who's in a wheelchair somewhere else is. One car accident, one crossing the street, one slip and fall, one eating something you should not have eaten. That's all that separates you from being in a wheelchair, speaking differently, looking differently, being able to take care of yourself than the person who is like that now. So be careful who you joke on and talk about, because